hopefully I can get this to work. And I've started another 15-minute cycle, I hope. And let's see what happens. So we were talking about how the events which are occurring now are preventing a much greater traumatic event down the future, where I see a pancake effect of a building smashing down into itself, and then it's really ugly, it's really traumatic, it's really a crash from which it would take a very, very long time to grow out of, to move out of. And we have chosen as a collective a different path right now, which I'm very happy to say I see occurring. And there are many more people who are coming forward, who are energized by these actions we see, and they are stepping forward and speaking and becoming much more proactive. Now let's get back to David Cohen here. It's funny how the names slip, but the energy is very powerful of the individual that comes in. Yes, I see he was very worried, he said initially, about his situation in the world. Yes, I can see why. I see Putin, and Putin comes in as a raptor. Putin comes in with very strong, beady eyes that see very, very far. And he's high up. The raptor's high up with a very sharp, the beak. It can tear through flesh. And this man has torn through flesh without flinching. He is a man who is able to rip apart something and get what he wants, the meat, and then move away quickly after he's made the attack. And it doesn't bother him at all. This is his nature. This is the raptor nature. This is the way they function. This is his natural flow. I mean, it's not my natural flow, but I understand how this energy works, and he's the right man for the job where he is. Again, these people it's like they find their roles in their lives, and they fulfill this kind of, I would call it a destiny, but this kind of choice to express in the way they do powerfully, and to be on the theater of the world, to be on the stage of the world. He sits on this platform. I see the large wooden stand where the raptor is sitting, and he has a cap on like raptors wear, but he pulls his back because he has so much self-control that he does not need to wear this cap to laser him in or to block out influences. He's so poised and well trained and laser-like and after what he wants, which he has accomplished very, very well. And he continues. He watched this president, and this president was like a monkey. A monkey comes in on the guys in the old days, they had the grinding wheel, and they turned this like a Nickelodeon on a stand, and the monkey was chained to it, and he jumped and danced to the music. That's how Putin sees Trump. He sees him as a monkey on a chain, grinding out the same story and the plan. And Putin pulled out this, it's like a player piano tube. It has all these spikes on it, and he can read it and decode it, and he shoves it back in there and watches the monkey continue to play out this role, this rhetoric, the same exact story which never changes, which has no depth, which has no elaborate implication. It's just a linear story that keeps grinding out, and he's very aware that he's dealing with a monkey on a cord, on a chain. And Putin in his interactions asked him to jump, and Trump jumped. Trump asks how high. That was the relationship there, because Trump, the greedy little monkey, wanted the banana, and Putin held out a great big bunch of bananas, and Trump wanted those bananas very, very badly, because he wants to make a big fruit salad. I'm shown a giant fruit salad, a buffet, with every kind of exotic fruit there is. And Mar-a-Lago comes in as part of this giant buffet of exotic possessions and things that nourished him, which were these very unusual exotic fruits and things, stuff like that. So he's tempted by, excuse me for that, he's tempted by the display he sees, which is a banana, a bunch of bananas, and Putin knew just what to present to Trump to I'm sorry, I just looked at the screen and noticed this may not be running, but I believe it is, so I'll continue. Now, initially, when Cohen came forward and Trump was at the beginning of it, he's standing on a barge. It's like he's on the Nile, and this thing starts rocking, but still everything is very smooth, and he's going to the goal, which is this giant pyramid he's building, a monument to himself. It is a little quaking and shaking, and Putin is watching now how he's losing his footing a little. And he had made a plan, I believe, initially, that he could take out what he wanted, when he wanted, in the way he wanted. He has no problem with poisons. This is a raptor. This guy can go in and out and kill. He can pay enough. He can influence enough. He can go out and take any American individual out in an instant. That's the kind of power Putin has. So he was ready to take people out if he chose to. But what happened was, and Cohen could have been part of that, because he wanted this plan to be fulfilled, the American-Russian dream, where eventually he'd entice these politicians over into this Russian idolatry, and then they would be swallowed and ripped apart and taken, and Russia will rise. It would rise. That's how he sees it, and that's what he wanted. Russia number one, and him as head of Russia number one. So he watched the boat wobble. He watched Cohen initially, knowing he could take out these people. But he, along with other crazies in America, because we have crazies that can come up to people with a gun and shoot their brains out or attack their families, that's all a reality as well. And those people come out of the woodwork when they feel threatened, or they feel this is an opportune moment, or they get triggered. They get triggered by what they hear or see. Anyway, we get back to Putin and the deal. What eventually happened was Putin watched the monkey on the chain fall off and begin to choke himself. I see the monkey dropping down the grinder. It drops his organ. The organ splinters and breaks, and the deal is off. This organ can't, the organ's broken, and the monkey can't do his job anymore, and he's still hooked up to what's broken. So Putin looks at this and he says, I'm going to let this ship sink. The machine is breaking. I don't even have to step in. I can sit here on my perch, which he does, and with those beady eyes, he watches from a very high point down into the trough that is America, the mess, the sewage. He sees mud and sewage and swamp. Oh, during the swamp coming in, now he sees a swamp. There wasn't one before. There was dry land. The swamp that existed before was the inner dirt and swampiness and negative energy of Donald Trump. The swamp was in him. His mess was he projected out from himself and looked at the world around him in such a swampy, negative way, because everything was undercover, in the mud, dirty dealing, muddy interactions, everything covered up and dark and dirty. Now there is a swamp. Putin sees it, and he also sees quicksand. So this guy, he will eventually click his chain off, and he's with his family again, this foundation, and they're all standing on the edge of this swamp, and they're starting to sink in deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I went back before to the image of this volcanic geyser is coming in again, where the emotional state of the country and the individual players in this is reaching a high point. It's reaching a climax, I see. Water represents emotions to me. And the flooding out of all sorts of emotions, the infinite and varied emotions that exist within this country right now, are phenomenal. And they're causing people to want to express and join together, like emotions clump together, like feelings clump together, like mental thoughts clump together. And they're beginning to form a kind of grassroots synergy with each other, and they're creating movements which will, no doubt, go forward and will, no doubt, start to express powerfully. So this is what I see right now, and I see Cohen. Let me get back to him. Um, this is a turning point this week with this man Cohen. We are going to really understand again, I said, the inner machinations and the corruption in our government to a level that we have not understood. Even Trump people will be hard pressed to defend all of what is occurring. And then, of course, we are going to have the revelations which eventually come from the Mueller investigation, and that is not far off in the future. This is another person who in a sense has the tremendous laser-like power of another, that he feels like an eagle. This is a man who has high moral internal guidelines for himself, and he also can wear a cap and close in, but he has decided to penetrate with, again, eagle eyes, which represents our American country. The United States of America is represented, I believe, by a golden eagle or an American eagle. And he's going to use that kind of penetration and laser-like focus to move through what he perceives corruption, and he has uncovered. He could go for the rest of his lifetime legally pursuing with a team of advisors and lawyers the tremendous implications and rivulets of corruption, illegality, immorality, and so forth that he has discovered in the process of opening up this investigation. The implications of the movement now in the coming 2 weeks are enormous for this country. There's going to be a kind of big bang which occurs. Big bang in weather, I see, a big bang in government, a big bang in finance, a kind of earthquake kind of configuration, a social big bang, a jolt to the systems of many people in America, which ripples out into the world, because this is no longer a world where people act only on their own. They affect each other powerfully through their minds, which they've translated to the internet, and the internet is connecting everybody, and this is what I see coming. So I hope this is helpful. And again, for Cohen, I do see eventually, after a period of depression, I see him writing, and I see him working toward his own redemption, his own moving up out of this place of gray. I see gray, tremendous gray around him, and he's sunk in water, emotional water and debris too, but he will pull himself out of this, and at the time he is moving out of prison, he is somewhat resurrected and will work for the rest of his life on creating a whole different reality for himself. I see him going on. I see him with the lesson of a lifetime, with such loss, financial, emotional, spiritual, but because of his great love and devotion for his family, for humanity, and eventually for himself, he forgives himself somewhat. That's the capacity he has to heal. He will move on, and he will help create something much more comfortable for himself and productive. And now I have to end this because, again, I will not be able to post this. I thank you very much for your time, and thank you.